Another two US based qualifications, CFA or CPA. Well, again, there are tons of questions that come to students' minds. So in this video, not only will we clarify both, but give you a roadmap as to what should you do based on what you really, what you might be thriving in. So step number one, understand the differences. Well, CFA is all about finance and investment management. CPA is the CA of US, which is much more into accounting, taxation. If you want to build a career in the field of finance, with respect to the markets, I mean stock market, you want to get into investments, you want to get into portfolio management, obviously CFA is the way. If you want to work either in US audit or US taxation, or you just want to be able to look at the field of business from the lens of accounts, CPA is an amazing qualification that is recognized everywhere. Both are US based, so they have value here in India as well as overseas. Well, quickly, the first thing is eligibility. CFA has changed their eligibility, which means in India, you can start if you're in your second year of graduation. However, CPA, you have to wait till you're a graduate, or better phrase this, you need 16 years of education. So you might need to do 1 year of MCom or MBA to really be eligible for CPA. Now, there are ways around it, we won't get into it, but more or less, that's the perfect ideal way to look at CPA. When it comes to the academic structure, CFA is definitely more tedious and longer. It has 3 levels, each have 10 subjects each, as you can see on the screen. And on an average, it takes 2 to 3 years to complete it. CPA, on the other hand, has only 4 subjects. There have been some changes, but more or less there are 4 subjects, and you can aim at completing it all within a year. Next, when it comes to the value, both of them are extremely well recognized in their own worlds. CFA, like I said, is all about finance, so you want to work in massive banks like JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs. You want to work in the companies like the Big Four. You want to work for an investment banking firm. You want to eventually get into private equity. You want to get into venture capital. You want to work in a company where you want to be in charge of the numbers, of the money, of the finances, to try and ensure that the best amount is generated by the company through its assets. All of this is CFA. CPA, on the other hand, is well recognized in US companies, Apple, Amazon, Capgemini, the Big Four, PwC, EY, GT, Deloitte, KPMG, BDO. All of these companies obviously recognize CPA, and most of them in India treat CPA as equivalent to that of a chartered accountant. So, and finally, what is the fee? Well, CFA together can take you between 3 to 4 lakhs. CPA totally can take between 4 to 5 lakhs. Again, depending on a few details. How quickly you give the exams, where you study from, what study material you use, where you give the exams. But these are the approx ranges. So, with this thought, what is the right path for you? Well, the simple answer is, if you are still in college, right, you don't have the criteria, you don't have the 12 plus 4 years or 16 years of education for CPA. Well, if you don't have that, then any which way your default answer is do CFA. Right? CFA is it sort of covers partial things like financial statement analysis, which is covered in CPA as well. But CFA is extremely well recognized. It is the leader in its niche of finance. And while it might be a little longer, it is cheaper. It is more, at least from what I understand, people know it, know the value of it as soon as they hear the 3 initials of CFA. The CFA has massive demand, and any which way that should be, it might be the only option you have if you don't have 12 plus 4 years of academic experience. Now, let's say that, and by the way, after doing CFA, you can always do CPA, so there is no downside to it. But let's say you are a chartered accountant, or let's say you are somebody who has enough experience, you have criteria to fulfill the eligibility for both. Well, then in that case, the question is, what is it that you are wanting to solve for? Do you know if whichever position you are in life, do you think that the next step you can get to by completing either of these qualifications? And if yes, who has told you that, right? You need to go and narrow down with certain companies. It might take a little time. Find people on LinkedIn, network and randomly ask people for references, but get to certain people who have the answers. Ask somebody who is in charge of making a decision in certain companies that this is my profile. If I want to reach this position, would you hire me if I did CFA or CPA, both or none? And that's the right way to make a decision rather than blindly following what any of us say. This is step number 1. Let's say you're still confused. Well, then I would ask you, is it more important to save, let's say, time? Because then CPA is of course faster. Is it more important to save cost? Because then CFA is slightly more inexpensive. Or do you know whether you personally like finance more or accounts more? That solves for a purpose. If you want to stay in India, CFA definitely has slightly more recognition than CPA. If you want to go to the US, both of them have recognition. But I know very few people who have done CFA and gone to US, and the few who've done CPA and gone to US, not heard much about them. In fact, I know more people who've done CPA US and gone to Canada, because you can then do CPA Canada quickly. So long story short, if you are still overall unclear, then I would say that you can finish CPA definitely faster if you're eligible, but CFA I know has more legs to stand on. And still, that I would not suggest is the best way to make the decision. The best way is to ask somebody, I am here, I want to get here. What's the bridge? Is it CPA, CFA? And then start the qualification. So I hope that this gives you some clarity. As always, subscribe if you've not. Give us a thumbs up if you find any value in this video. And let us know what else we can make for you on this channel.